they love each other and they've relied on each other for a long time. And now that we've spent so much time apart, it's just trying to recognize the person sitting in front of us again.
Meg, we're going to Wyoming.
We're in Wyoming, man. We're going ranching.
Yeah, we made it to episode 6. We got past the horrible atrocities of episode 5. Melanie Linsky, R.I.P. Henry and Sam, R.I.P. We're on to hope what seems like maybe the good life, because holy cow, they've accomplished their one of 2 missions. We got Tommy back.
Even before then, I will say we get this, it's a 3-month time jump. So it's taken them 3 months to walk from Kansas City to Wyoming. We're in winter. We have this like amazing intro at the top of the episode where Joel and Ellie run into this elderly couple because they're looking for directions. And I just felt like that, the levity of that exchange.
You made him soup?
Yeah, I did.
Like, I just felt that couple was so needed. Like, I needed it. It was at the top of my, I was like, I need something, like a palate cleanser after what you just did to us in 5. And that was, I think that showed like the show really balances things well. And I really appreciated this couple bringing some joy back to my life.
Are you telling me the truth?
Yeah.
The core part of this episode is that they get to a settlement. After all of this worry, we're pretty sure we've been like, it's been forecasted like Tommy is dead or close to dead, probably a zombie this entire time. And then we get to Jackson, Wyoming, and he's building construction in the middle of like a full ass town.
He's building construction in a town. He's married, as we find out. He's not just gone. He got hitched to like the leader of the town. Like, Tommy is living high on the hog as far as like the apocalypse goes.
They are living so cushy. They have a full-on cafeteria.
Dude, they have a movie theater, for crying out loud.
And I'm like, I for one, like, understand Joel isn't immediate. Like, he's super happy to see Tommy in the immediate, but then there's some tension between the two. And honestly, I get it. I just trekked 2,500 miles. Mostly by foot. I've been through, my partner is dead. I've got this child that I'm now weirdly attached to. I've seen horrific things. And I find out that you're sitting up here married, eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner in a cafeteria, and there's a movie theater? Bro. But I want to say, I got the chance to talk to Gabriel Luna, who plays Tommy, and he gave me a lowdown sort of about who Tommy has become in the 20 years that we've seen him. And more importantly, he gives us a lowdown on him and Maria's relationship, that is his wife, and why that was a reason to sort of give up everything.
He's in the process of rebuilding, reconstructing his spirit, reconstructing his heart, and building a family of his own. You know, Tommy knows the horrors of war. He has trauma that he was already in the process of healing when the outbreak happens. You know, an angel in the form of Maria comes and swoops down and saves him. When he meets her and all those beautiful connective tissues that we have with others, I think those start to reform. And yeah, he's very thankful and tries to offer and contribute everything he can to not only the community of Jackson, but to this woman that he grows to love.
Maria is played by True Blood fans will know her, Regina Weasley. And it seems like she's been a good influence on Tommy so far.
It is that, literally. This is the commune. We're communists.
I love the Maria character. When we're first introduced to Tommy in the long time ago, in the before time, it seems like he's maybe not as grown up as one might hope he would be. He's like a full-on adult now in like a really like. Obviously, the apocalypse would not only age someone, but could also easily break someone. It seems as though he's come out better on the other side of it. Joel's had it rough, by comparison, it seems.
Joel has had it rough, and I think like we haven't been fully briefed on what those early years of the outbreak were like for Tommy and Joel. We know that they were doing some horrific things. We know they killed some people. We know they hurt some people. We don't 100% know like why they were doing it, to what extent that they did it. But this episode again like really emphasizes that, and it seems like it is something that Joel has locked away. It's something that Tommy has had to make peace with, and I don't think that he was able to make peace with it until he got to Wyoming.
We murdered people.
Honestly, the situation that we find them in is such a good example of that. Like, Joel and Ellie were told by this old couple, don't go over the bridge. Nobody who goes over the bridge lives. There's something over there that kills people. So what did they do, Meg?
They crossed the river of death.
And they're immediately taken captive by a bunch of people with guns on horseback. It's such an interesting example to me that, like, Joel is so willing to run headfirst into trouble regardless. Just like, because maybe it'll lead him to the next clue to find Tommy. And then he finds Tommy, and Tommy's living the plush life.
I think it's also, like, it's worth saying that, like, yes, he had a minor panic attack, which builds into later in the episode. But otherwise, there was no hesitations. Like, whatever we have to do, I have to keep going west. I have to find my brother. And there was no trepidation about that. But yet, when he gets to the commune, that seems like the best possible situation with this in this apocalypse, there is the most trepidation.
Go grab some supplies and be out of your hair in the morning.
Going back to his dynamic with Tommy, that all comes to a head in this scene in a bar when the two are finally, like, alone together after reuniting. And Tommy breaks the news that, like, he's about to be a dad. And Joel has a really adverse reaction with that. And Gabriel Luna gave us a little lowdown of what it was like to film that scene, sort of what he was thinking as Tommy, and sort of why that scene was so heartbreaking.
Tommy's kind of a big deal in Jackson, I think. And then once Joel arrives, he's immediately kind of reset into little brother mode. He has so much he wants to tell me, and there's a big secret that he has, and I have a big secret as well, and we're just kind of dancing around those secrets until I let cat out of the bag that he's going to be an uncle. And all I want from him is a hug, a pat on the back, and excitement, just the thrill of new additions to the family. But Joel isn't capable of that at that time, and it breaks my heart. With good reason, though. Obviously, he has his own history, but he doesn't understand the feelings that I have about losing Sarah and what that meant to me. So yeah, it's just a very complicated reunion. They love each other and they've relied on each other for a long time, and now that we've spent so much time apart, it's just trying to recognize the person sitting in front of us again.
I love that scene. It is my second. There's another scene in this episode that we're going to talk about later that is my favorite, but that was my second. I thought that showed so much about those two and their dynamic, and just showing that, like, how much Joel has not moved on in the past 20 years. He has stuck it as the Joel immediately after Sarah was killed.
Yeah, he's stuck on that night. It may have taken Tommy getting away from everything to get to the point he's at now. He has figured out how to move on with his life, and that's important, because if you're just stuck in the saddest day of your life forever, like, you're not living. So the fact that Tommy has been able to take what has evolved around them and figured out how to forge a life in it somewhere, and not just forge a life, but forge, like, a pretty good life. He's found a woman he loves. They're having a child. Like, he has built, honestly, a more ideal life here than I feel like he probably would have had without the infection breakout.
I feel like I'd be a good dad. Guess we'll find out.
Well, Tommy and Joel are having this discussion, and Tommy, like, rightfully, if harshly, points out that Joel has not moved on from Sarah. Simultaneously, Ellie is finding out that Sarah existed at all.
Just Kevin. Sarah was Joel's daughter.
And I think, like, Ellie has this moment of realization of everything about Joel now makes sense. But also, I think, like, she plays it off as if, like, she knew. She's not deeply hurt by the fact that, like, he kept this very important information from her. But I think, like, she has to be that, like...
Oh, I think there's a degree of that. But at the same time, I feel like it's, like, Joel is a very guarded human being. He doesn't really let on anything about himself. All Ellie knows about him is that he is in charge of getting her to where she needs to go, and that he has a brother named Tommy somewhere near Wyoming. And, like, as she's growing closer to him, since he's still hurting from that night, he's still incredibly guarded. And now she's finally getting to see why he's so guarded and who Joel really is. I would understand her being disappointed that he didn't open up to her, but I could also see her understanding why. Because the moment you get too close to someone, to the point where you would share information like that, the moment it's going to stay with you forever if something happens.
It was reassuring to know that, like, immediately after that, Maria basically starts to prod Ellie about, like, whether she should remain with Joel. Like, she's basically trying to say Joel's a bad influence, like, you don't know this guy. And Ellie immediately takes to Joel's defense, right? And he's like, anything you have to say about Joel, you have to say it about Tommy. Like, I think that speaks to how close Ellie and Joel have gotten over the past 5 episodes. And, like, we skipped 3 months. They've spent 3 months sleeping side by side. sharing campfire story, whatever they're doing.
Reading that joke
bonding,
book.
Reading that joke book.
Reading that joke book.
And so I think this is what I've been waiting for. A lot of this is like to see how strong this bond is. But then as soon as we have this heartwarming moment, like, oh, Ellie and Joel forever, man, we do get what is my favorite scene of the episode, is we go to the movie theater and Joel breaks down to Tommy.
You want me to take her? I'm just gonna get her killed, I know it. I have to leave her.
Pedro Pascal has delivered an amazing performance so far, but I think like that scene should be his Emmy reel as of the series so far. Like him crying about like, I can't do this, man.
He's been doing this for 20 years, and he was already like not a young spry chicken 20 years ago. He was like a fully grown adult with a kid who had like a career and a life and everything. And now it's been 20 years.
He was 36 on Outbreak. It was his 36th birthday. Outbreak
so
day.
He's 56 now.
56.
He's 56 years old.
56 apocalypse years. You know what I mean? But Tommy has a lot on the line when Joel, like, it's a big request that Joel is making of him. So obviously we wanted to talk to Gabriel Luna about what was Tommy's motivation in actually saying yes and being willing to take this trip on for Joel, considering he's got a pretty cushy life and a child on the way.
It's Tommy's duty to a greater calling. He's looking at his brother who is just crumbling in front of him. He's younger and he's been nurtured in Jackson for a while and has a renewed strength and is somebody who can finish the job. This is an opportunity to save the world, and within that world is my wife and my yet to be born child. So saving the world is pretty important.
Tommy volunteers to take Ellie. He doesn't end up doing it because when Ellie confronts Joel about wanting to ditch her, she has a lot of choice words to say about it, and in the end he takes that to heart and he says, you at least deserve a choice in who's going to take you, and without hesitation she picks Joel. She's pissed about it, but she picks Joel. And then they get on horseback. They go to the university, and we get there, and lo and behold, fireflies are not there.
Don't see any fireflies though.
Honestly, it sucks that they're not there, but like there's those moments of like just seeing monkeys running around. Like that's awesome. Like it's so like that. I feel like when we think of like abandoned city type scenes, that's what comes to mind. Wild animals just kind of wandering around. So I'm glad we were able to get a bit of that in, and like it's just fun. It's nice to have fun.
It's super fun. But we don't get to have fun for long because there are also raiders at the university, and when Joel and Ellie try to escape, Joel gets stabbed. But like we're left on a major cliffhanger as they leave. It's Joel collapses, and now Ellie is on her own gonna have to try and save him. I am deeply worried at the end of this episode about what's going to happen.
I will say, if what comes next is what happens in the games, we're in for like some really, really good stuff in the next episode, because holy cow, it's one of my favorite parts of the game.
Oh man. Okay, well that makes me excited because I truly have no idea what comes after this. I will say though that like after the action of episode 5, I did like really enjoy like the calmer pace of this. Like it was just like, we're gonna be at the ranch, man. We're gonna have some tough conversations, but we're just gonna have some conversations.
Well then, what's the nightmare scene of the week, Megan?
Again, this was a cordyceps less episode. There were no zombies. So again, my imagination had to take over for me, and as cute as those monkeys were, guess what?
You're just waiting for him to rip a face off?
Here's the inside of my brain, right? One, the first thing I was worried about was like, are they mushroom monkeys? And then it turned out they weren't. And so then my next thing, anytime I'm encountered with a wild animal that might bite me, my thing is, what if I turn into a were version of that animal? You know what I mean?
Ooh.
So then
like a were monkey?
Like a were monkey. And I think that would suck.
You have watched too much Teen Wolf.
So much Teen Wolf. And Riverdale, to be honest. I think we should keep it lighthearted, which means it is time for Ellie's Curse of the Week.
Boom, Ellie, our profane, foul-mouthed queen of the apocalypse. I actually I had this one written down on my phone.
I need you to tell us where we are.
If you got a map, why you lost?
I must have missed all the street signs in the enormous forest. Which is just...
Again, it's like, I think there's a theme with your Ellie curses of the week, and it is when they are like funny and accurate. It is always like, and I was like,
Absolutely.
true, like they've been in the forest. They need to get reoriented, man. There's no need to be a smart butt about it.
But also, beyond being in the forest, are there street signs left in the world, or have they been knocked out? Like, Lord knows if you can even see street signs in neighborhoods anymore.
Or are they even?
Or
Like, are
where-
they accurate? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd also be like, where are, like, look, I understand that you're pointing at a map. What state am I in? I have no idea where we are. You just live in a shack in the woods somewhere. Where am I supposed to go now? So yeah, Ellie was spot on, accurate. Thank you, Ellie, for taking that old couple to task after you ate their soup.
You made him soup?
Yeah, I did.
Again, if this follows the game, I am very much looking forward to next week's episode, which I'll walk around this in the least spoilery way possible. Obviously Joel is hurt, so a lot of what happens after that for a short time is you see Ellie in the role of primary caretaker. That's in the game. We know how protective they are of each other, but so far, for the most part, we've just gotten to see Joel be protective over Ellie. Now Joel he has a big hole in his gut and he's incapacitated, so I'm ready to see Ellie step up to be that role of protector for Joel, because like he's all she has.
And I think like there were some to that point there were some foreshadowing elements in this episode of before they get to Tommy, they like have to spend the night, and she ends up having to take watch because Joel falls asleep on his watch. And she shows like how competent she has become at that. He finally teaches her to shoot. And I think she's not good at it, but I think that's going to become now, and I was like, well, that's going to have to become relevant. She's going to need to know how to aim a gun very soon. But yeah, I think most importantly, I think we got to find out what happens to Joel next, and sort of what is the next stage in Ellie's evolution now that she has to step up. For now, that is episode 6 of The Chat With Us. If you want to hear more from our chat with Gabriel Luna, make sure to check out TV Guide and GameSpot.com. We will have links in the description. Like and comment this video. We want to know how you feel about this episode. And we will see you next week.